All right, here we go. OverDrive off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, and up on TSN 4. Bryan Hayes, Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan.
What's going on?
Hazy, what's your mindset after Game 3 last night? I know there was probably a lot of boxes checked for you because you had a keen eye on what the Maple Leafs were going to do last night.
Yes, I did. I'm sure all of us did. I'm sure everyone in the province of Ontario did, and I would guess people around the league. I'm very impressed with those Maple Leafs. They're in a very good position here.
Before we get into the actual ice hockey, if you're a grown-ass man, and I saw these two dudes, one had the number 19 and the other guy had 67, and the one guy had Leaf fans and the other guy had suck. Like, I get it. You don't like the Leaf, but that's a waste of money.
It's a crazy move for grown men.
Dude.
Like two guys in their 40s.
Like, imagine if you were like, you had a kind of a big-time gig and you saw work colleagues and you're like, you're Leaf fans suck guy, Jersey guy? Like, you're my boss.
Yeah, it's a tough one to really explain. And
It is hard to. You're right. Like fandom changes people regardless, because you're right. Like you can go, that guy works on Bay Street. He makes $2 million a year, and he's a lunatic.
Yeah.
When it gets to a sporting event. You name it. He loves his Cincinnati Bengals and he loves his whatever. You name it. But you're like, that's not the person I know in the boardroom, or it would be, I don't know, be like our boss, Jeff McDonald, who, pretty reserved, pretty, thoughtful guy. And then all of a sudden he's a lunatic somewhere.
No, well, when it comes to Tiger Woods, guess
that's
what
fair.
He turns into a lunatic.
Yeah,
but I don't know of him as guys showing up with Phil Mickelson.
Phil sucks.
Shirts.
Phil's
Or like
number
he
two.
doesn't on Friday wear a red golf shirt and a black hat and black trousers
and a
He might,
golf glove.
with a golf glove in his pocket. Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe this is a bad example. I apologize. Let's not go
Can you
there.
imagine
that
barging into his office on a Friday and he had full Tiger gear with a glove on doing a conference call?
It would be a very
the camera
awkward
off.
position for everyone to be in.
Yeah, it's a Zoom, but he's got the camera off because he's in the background swinging.
Yes, he's working on a short game dressed as Tiger. But you're right. That is how people have lost their careers over that because of video. And obviously a jersey isn't going to warrant that, clearly. I mean, it's a rivalry. It's a good line, 1967. We get it. It lands. It's a good one. It's a good line. I'm not going to argue against that. But there have been, idiots that have gone to sporting events and picked fights and sucker punched somebody. And it's like, well, you're
ridiculous.
done. Like, your career is gone.
Oh, yeah. You're right. Because the base comes up on Viz, and then somebody says, oh, that's so-and-so. It happened recently. It was a Packers versus Chicago or something, and some guy was just absolutely teeing off on somebody in front of him. The pick came up, and it went viral, and they searched him out, and he got fired.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
All I was thinking about is, do you remember, was it in Chicago, Adam Party's helmet goes into during that scrum, and that guy, that booze bag, put the helmet on, and I think he took a swipe at somebody.
You're not going to lose a career over that.
No, but I think he took a swipe at somebody. The girl he was with dumped a beer, and if you go back on that,
that guy was so goon, though. Like
his face was on sideways. He was so buckled.
I didn't notice any physical altercation. I
think
saw,
there was. I think the
girl ridiculous thing you're ever going to see in terms of like helmets and all that, and what the guy was doing. In terms of how that all played out with the booze and all that. But listen, the Leafs are up 3-0. Like, it's just you couldn't ask for a better start, and this is why you chase down the division. This is it. Because would you prefer to be in Tampa's shoes and playing a team like Florida? This is why you earned it. This is why you chased down the division. This is why you made sure that everyone was playing and peaking at the end, so you'd get a team in Ottawa that you match up really well against. And, I think you could make the argument maybe this series should be 2-1. Like, of course, the last two games have gone to overtime. A couple bounces go one way or the other. Ottawa's maybe up 2-1. Like, you could make that argument. But I think the Leafs have looked like the more veteran team. I think they look like the team that's had more scar tissue, more experience in the playoffs. I thought Game 2 and 3 were very similar in nature. I mean, they played out in very similar ways in terms of the Leafs having a lead in the third, really locking it down, and then Ottawa literally on their first shot they score. And I'll top that with the next great opportunity was Ottawa, and Stolarz makes an incredible save where in Game 2 it was Cousins, the glove save, and last night it was Batherson in all alone. He made an unbelievable stop after Tkachuk had tied it. And then, you barely get into overtime. You're barely in your seat. And Domi wins it a couple nights ago, and Benoit wins it last night. It's a very, very comfortable position the Leafs find themselves in right now, but I think they've earned it. I think they played very well.
But you know what? It's funny, and you're right. Like, these are margins of errors. It's a small detail, but we talked about Game 2. Batherson, that's a backhand saucer through the middle. It's instead of through the body, it's trying to go through the hands on Domi coming back. Here's a small detail: a lost draw in the defensive zone.
Yes, killing Ottawa, man.
But and then the second part on top of that, credit to Austin Matthews, credit to Maple Leafs for doing it. Their D getting their shots through. Mike Kelly had a great stat from Sportlogic saying like how Ottawa hasn't been able to get their shots through. Toronto has, and there's but it's a fine line in the playoffs, and you've been able to do it. It's small details, but that's what puts you on the winning side as opposed to the losing side. And I thought it was a good game. I thought it was exciting. Crowd seemed to be
overtime.
into it.
It's great. Yeah, there were a lot. Like the Sens fans showed up last night, and I thought it was a really rambunctious crowd. It was a fun night. Tkachuk scores. His celebration was incredible. But, if you're Ottawa, and I think Travis Green handled it very well after the game, he's like, you can't sugarcoat it. You're down 3-0. Yeah. You're in big, big trouble. And only 4 teams in the history of the Stanley Cup playoffs have come back from that. And now it's on the Leafs to, I think clearly you want to bury them tomorrow night. Like, just end it. It's over. Just finish it. Don't allow them to feel like they've got any hope, any reason to push it to 6 or 7. And again, with the Tampa-Florida series, which you can't have your eye on necessarily yet, but Florida's up 2-0. Like, Florida's in a really good spot, and they're going home for Game 3. So maybe that series doesn't go 7. Well, maybe it doesn't turn into a war.
Yeah, I mean, it has been a war, though. Watching that game, I don't know. That Ottawa,
you want
Tampa,
it to be a
Florida.
Prolonged war, though, Jamie.
But that's the point. It's not a war if it's 4 games. It can't be.
No, but I'm talking every whistle is a punch in the face. Those teams have ice bags on. And that Hagel, he's going to get, I don't know what he's going to get.
He better get 3 games. I think that's no better or worse than Bunting on Chernak 2 years ago. For me, Bunting got 3 games.
1 game.
I thought that's as gutless of a hit as you can throw. I mean, Barkov never touches the puck.
No,
but he can argue that he thought Barkov touches the puck. I've looked at it at different angles today, and I agree with you. He doesn't touch the puck. It's 100% suspendable, but I think that's what his defense is going to be, is he was there and the puck came flying out of there. But
bottom line, he committed to a hit and he had no business committing to it.
Where the puck was nowhere near the Chernak one. That was on the board.
Right, but it's the same thing. He pops them, and I don't know. I hear what you're saying, that will be Hagel's explanation, I'm sure. And it's on the
I'm not
league
defending him. Believe me, I'm not defending him.
To me, it's just a gutless hit. And Barkov leaves. He's hurt.
Yeah.
I think it's 3 games, personally.
Yeah.
I don't think you can accept that. That's a brutal hit, and he left the game. I don't know if he'll be back for Game 3. We'll see. I would guess he won't get 3. I'm guessing he probably gets 1. We'll see. But because of that argument, and I think that's a reasonable one, that he looked at it and it looked like Barkov had just touched the puck, but he didn't.
The puck was actually in the vicinity where the other one, like Bunting, the puck was not even close. I don't think those are comparable. But I do agree it's a suspension. That's, the puck was with Bunting, the puck was already halfway up the wall.
I hear you. It's not nowhere near as vicious though. Bunting popped him, it was greasy. Hagel's flying.
I agree.
If you're Barkov and you don't touch the puck, you can speak to this better than I can. You're never expecting a train to be coming at you.
You're blindsided, man.
Yeah. And he's flying with the intention of burying him. And he doesn't
he committed
have the
to the hit, and it was half anticipation and half grease, where it was I'm going to commit. This guy's going to get the puck and turn the corner. The puck never gets to him, and he just said, I'm going to bury this guy anyway.
I agree. I might be wrong, Brian. You're right. It's a superstar. You might be right. He might get 3 games. I might be wrong on that, but I thought if I was watching it last night, I'm like, that's a game for sure. It might be 3.
I can reason with any of it. I think the point you make is definitely valid, and it's totally different from Bunting from that standpoint because the puck wasn't even close. Like, it wasn't even in the vicinity. I'm not excusing Bunting. I thought he deserved what he got. Like that, it's not revisionist history where I'm like, well, Bunting should have gotten this and he got that. He deserved everything he got. Right. I just thought the Hagel hit, and it's bad. Barkov, and he left the game. That's not good, man. Like that was a big one. And if you're Tampa and Hagel does miss a game or more than that, you're in serious
loss.
Trouble, man.
Yeah, that's the difference too. Is Hagel's not Bunting. Like Hagel's a top-tier player too. Yeah. So, but I thought it was a greasy hit, and I thought it was an opportunist hit, like at a guy in a vulnerable spot. But man, oh man, like that, 1-goal game there. That's one. The difference is Bobrovsky was one better than Vasilevsky. Now they're going home up to Cobb. And they got Ekblad coming back.
Right.
For
and you talk about tight games, Jamie. I think the Maple Leafs, I'm a big believer in, like, positive mojo and having a gut feeling. Like, the year we went to the finals in Carolina, we'd have overtimes, and guys like Nicholas Wallin and Marek Malik were ripping home overtime goals. And you see that stuff start happening, and I don't think it's a bad thing to think or say to yourself where it's like, man, maybe this is our time to do something and go on a run here. Like, Simon Benoit set up 2 plays in overtime. That should kind of maybe get everybody's brain thinking, like, maybe this is our time. This is, it's not Austin Matthews, although he did score a goal. It's not William Nylander. We're just winning, and maybe it's our time to break through. I think it's okay to pile on top of some positive mojo. They are playing well. They're playing poised. They're comfortable when it's low event. But when you start having that stuff happen, just keep piling on top of it and believing that, you know what, maybe this is our time. Because we were the little Carolina Hurricanes where it was like, what are we even doing here? And you have games. We had a game in Montreal. We were down 3-1 in the third. We came back and we won it in overtime. Nick Wallin. And it's like, maybe it's our time. Like, maybe we're going to do something with this.
Well, you keep playing like that. And
you just keep running with it.
Like I think that we can talk about that. I think in that dressing room, Craig Berube's going, you got to win one more game. He's not saying it's our time. He's not.
I think my point, Jamie, is you get a feeling where if you get to overtime, you almost trick yourself into thinking, you're going to win. Because I don't know, Doogie, look up our record that year in 2002 in the playoffs, but we just got to overtime and it was like we knew we were going to win. It was a great feeling, obviously.
Yeah, well, when things are breaking your way, and again, this is back-to-back overtimes where it's been quick. Like, Domi was 3 minutes in. Last night it was less than that. Like, it's off a draw, it's in the back of the net. But it's just immediately it's in the net.
That's the difference, though. Like, the point being is the small details, that's what cost you. You can't take your foot. You've got to have a 50-50 battle on a draw and not get cleaned out. You can't be soft on the back check. And those are things that, whether it happens in 4 or 5, whatever, Ottawa will take for that and go, you know what? Like, plus you can look at your roster and go, okay, what were we missing here? Like, that's the type of stuff when, like, there is still things you can take from it. But you know what? I thought it was a good game. I thought Anthony Stolarz had another solid night. Like, that's another positive storyline. I thought Ullmark was good. I didn't blame him on, anything. I thought he looked really good. Couple good saves in tight. It was a good, hard-fought battle. I thought it was a good playoff hockey game to watch last night. Yeah, and ultimately, again, the Leafs they're in the driver's seat. They were supposed to be, not to this extent. I wasn't predicting, they'd be up 3-0. I thought it would be a longer series. It still very well could be. We'll see what happens tomorrow night. We'll see what happens if it gets to a Game 5, because the pressure can flip. But what the Leafs have shown. Forget all the X's and O's and all the details. There is an element of calmness that they're supplying, like with the way that they're playing, and they have been showing that this year. Like, they have not been playing a high wire, overly entertaining style of hockey. Two different times they've held like the Sens to no shots for like 10 minutes or more. Yeah. Like the third period, you've never heard games. You've never said those two things in the same sentence. Ever. Exactly. And will it get more difficult if and when you get to a next round and the round after that? Of course. But you're also allowed to build up the confidence and the mojo, which is, I think, what you're referencing here, where, the Leafs have been through the ringer and they've been chasing things in the past. And
They're always going to have to prove themselves. Everyone has to continue to do that. But I think you've got to give credit where it's due. Like, they had a really solid game plan that they executed through the regular season with their eyes on the prize of winning the division. They did that, and now through 3 games, they're in the best spot they've ever been. Like, they haven't been up 3-0 in a series in 24 years, and at no point in this Matthews era. So, continue it. Continue to play with the same poise. Continue to play with the same defensive approach. And if you get chipping guys like Benoit, like Simon Benoit, watching him on the podium with Austin Matthews last night was wild to witness, because that has never happened in, obviously, the history of these Simon Benoit types. The last time that happened probably was 24 years ago. Corey Cross was probably up there with Matt Sundin. It's probably Sundin and Corey Cross.
When he scored that OT winner?
He scored Game 3 24 years ago, the same thing, to go up 3-0. That was in Toronto, not in Ottawa. It was the same thing. Like 3 minutes into overtime, Game 3, Corey Cross scores.
Yeah, I wasn't aware that series was a sweep.
It was a sweep, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that. People were telling me today.
That was the 2 versus 7. That was the year where Ottawa was heavily favored, too. Yeah. They were the 2 seed, the Leafs were the 7 seed. And that was a sweep 24 years ago. Jason York was on that team. We got Yorkie coming up in 20 minutes. I'm sure he can't wait to discuss that. But watching, there it is. Bearson was in the middle of everything for a couple of years in the Battle of Ontario. But, Benoit and Austin Matthews are up there. And Matthews is comfortable. That's where he should be. He's the captain. He scored a goal, a beauty. He played really well last night. But you've got Benoit, leading the rush in overtime in Game 2 and scoring the winner in Game 3. That's your 6th defenseman making $1 million. You got to have it. Like, you got to have those stories.
Well, and there were times
very unique, and they're long overdue for this team.
It's good for him because there were times where it looked dicey for him to be in the lineup.
Damn right.
I mean, it's a great story because there are times like, in a perfect world, we were like, not sure. Hey, Meyer might be in there. You start moving pieces around. Like he might have been on the outside. I was just going to say he might have been on the outside looking in, but he's stuck with it. He's been steady. Jerry Hockenpot has been a name that we've thrown around.
I think he's making more money than Benoit.
Well, it might be, but
Hockenpot's making more money.
I think they extended him
Benoit.
though. Didn't Benoit? Didn't he get an extension, or am I wrong on that?
They did. Yeah. They signed. They last year because he was a find, right? He had been in Anaheim and jumped around, and he had a good camp last year and a good start, and they gave him a deal, and they pounced on it. Kind of the Bobby McMahon deal. Halfway through the year, was playing well, and they said, all right, let's keep him around. We like this guy. And it's paid off for them, clearly. And, he may not score another goal literally the rest of his career. Like, he might not, or he might score again tomorrow night. Like, it's just the kind of thing, the kind of run he's on right now.
You never know, but it's a great story.
Great story. Those are always fun.
But it comes back to the details of winning a draw, getting the puck to the net, and hitting the net too, hitting a spot. Like, you got to get it to a quadrant, get it to an area where, the goalie either hasn't adjusted or there's some space there. And keep in mind, from the Ottawa standpoint, nobody gets in that lane. You got to have a forward rush out there. And was it Nyes? Who was there was a big
Nyes
body in front.
Matthews were right in the
they
middle.
both jumped kind of out of the way, like, hey, we got to let this go by. Like, it was just it's a detail part, and they execute.
The Leafs are winning in those details.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're winning in the face-off circle. They're winning in the biggest battles you need, and they're getting the goals that ultimately are going to turn the lights out on the game. And it's big because Ottawa, I think, Game 2 and Game 3, they never really had a chance in overtime. Like, it happened so quick and the puck turned the other way so quickly, they never really had a chance to even test Stolarz.
Right.
And, Stolarz, again, another great story. So we'll continue to look back on Game 3 last night. There was, I guess, some stuff going on in the pregame that has led to a couple of fines.
I get that this stuff is reported on by Dregs and others, but what are we doing here? Like, is this
well,
the
Nick
Quebec
Cousins
Pee-wee
has been
turn?
fined. So Cousins, I guess, shot a puck at Stolarz. He's been fined $2,000, and the team's been fined $25,000 for him shooting a puck at Stolarz.
I didn't see that part. I
thought $25,000?
Yeah, that's what I saw.
The team got $25,000, yes, and he got the maximum whatever it is, $2,000 according to his salary.
Yep.
I didn't see that part. I thought it was at the end of warm-up where guys stand at center ice and they flick it up and then they shoot it in for the final shot on the goal turn. I didn't see this. shooting
even this
along
tape,
the
it's
wall.
like the Zapruder film, man.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
Who's up on the grassy knoll here when Cousins is
But you
trying
can't
to
be
kill
stupid in warm-up.
Stolarz?
You can't be,
It's
can't
a stupid
be stupid
play. I get
it. It is,
But
especially if he
would-
thought it was a joke and Stolarz would think it was funny. And if Stolarz did think it was funny and it was like, ha, hey, buddy. But and then afterwards having your team getting fined $25,000 for that, I mean, that's just, I don't know.
I
like the goalie
honest.
Hofer, or whatever the guy's name is in St. Louis, was shooting pucks down at Scheifele the other night. Is he going to get fined too? Same type of thing. Stupid.
I think guys just got to smarten up in warm up. But ultimately, I like the way Greeny handled it. He's like, I can't speak about it.
Well,
it's
we
an
got it.
open
We should play it. So, this was before the fine. The fine just came out. I can't believe we're saying it. The fine.
Yeah,
but
the fine.
Travis was well aware that there was a league investigation on the Nick Cousins shooting the puck gate from last night. And here's what Travis Green had to say this morning.
Well, Mark, it's an active investigation. I don't know if I should be commenting on that right now. So,
have you reviewed the video?
I have people that have advised me maybe not to comment on it. I'm kidding. Yeah, I saw the video. It's Nick Cousins and Stolarz have played together. I don't know. Yeah, he's probably trying to either laugh at him or make a joke or get him off his game, and it is what it is.
Did you talk to Cousins about it? No?
Yep.
What did he say?
He said, yeah, I know him. Game within the game. Happens probably a lot more than you think.
All right. Well, it's going to cost Michael Andlauer $25,000. The game within the game, $25K. But it's something, man. I mean, I thought we'll get into this with Jason York. I think it is overblown. I do think
so stupid.
It's easy to also just be clear and mature and just say, don't shoot pucks at the other team.
Exactly.
Right?
Like, don't do that. Like,
well, if they're trying to stop an
simple
escalation of something else happening tomorrow night, where, like in the OHL, I don't know if people know this, the refs are on the ice. They used to be in warm up. The NHL, there's no refs on the ice. Right? So it's like both teams are out there, and it could go sideways. But is this going to lead to something? I don't know. It seems kind of goofy that we're even talking.
It's not.
But it
going
happened.
to.
It happened.
In junior, in the Western League, we used to have to warm up separately.
Oh, I know. In the O, we just did 5 minutes
brawls.
early. The visiting team, the home team goes out 5 minutes earlier than the home team. That's it.
Yeah, it's just because of the brawls. You weren't allowed. Nowadays, that's
You're
not
not
going to
gonna see
happen.
that
Just,
tomorrow
I mean,
night.
it's yeah.
But we can't get into it with York. Like, what kind of reaction? I look at Brady Tkachuk. Like, he runs hot. He's emotional. If the game gets carried away tomorrow night, is Ottawa going to try to, take a pound of flesh on the way out? Is that possible? We'll see. We'll get into it. We'll start teeing up Game 4 tomorrow. Jason York coming up. Mike Johnson will join us later this afternoon. The Jays are at Yankee Stadium for a 3-game series starting tonight, so we'll get to that. The NFL Draft, Round 2, Shedeur Sanders still available if anyone wants him. We'll get into that a little bit later on as well.
Yeah.
Dude, what about the draft room he built at his house?
Yes. Well, and listen, they got a lot of money. There's a lot of eyes on them and him, and it was a tough night for a lot of different people, not just Shedeur Sanders. A lot of different people analyzing that draft last night. So we'll tell you more about it later this afternoon. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 4. All right, Jason York in a few moments. I had someone send me a DM on Instagram saying, the Leafs have won like 7 games in a row. Why aren't you playing the Major League theme song? And I don't know. I don't want to jinx it for the Leafs.
I was just
anyway.
going to say, why would you play that when, like, remember last time we played it? They'd won 5 in a row?
And then what happened?
They lost the next game.
Okay.
It was a tough decision to play
JP.
that song.
JP is the guy who runs the show around here.
JP and Doogie would need a fresh start
Monday?
next week.
If they end up winning on Saturday, that's when you play it.
That's when it will be played again.
I understand, but
it's all good.
It's
There's a lot of room for playing.
I understand that, but I don't know. It's a poor decision, I think.
All right, you're superstitious. I get it.
Well, I have slight superstition, and I remember the last time because I wasn't on the show, and then I came back. and you guys had played it the day before, and then what happened? They didn't win. So you're like, okay.
Well,
and you guys even called yourselves out. So we just played the song yesterday.
You're not going to win every game.
I understand.
Rules are rules. You establish them, and Major League theme song gets played every once in a while.
Fair enough.
But listen, the Leafs are in a very good spot, and I am somewhat taken aback because we've talked about this a lot during the regular season, right? That, why not enjoy the ride? Last year, enjoy Matthews chasing 69. This year, they're chasing the division. You got new players. You got a new coach. You got a new vibe. I understand. I'm not here to lecture anyone in terms of, how jaded someone is or how they feel about the team. I get why you would feel, uncomfortable with the Maple Leafs because of their history. I get it. And just because they've won 3 in a row does not mean they have accomplished anything. But the amount of Leaf fans that I have messaging me and talking to me, they're like, just wait, they'll run into Florida and get. It's like, guys, just relax. Like they're playing Ottawa right now.
Yeah.
If and when you play Florida, sure, it'll be a tough series. I think anyone that plays Florida, if it's Florida, Tampa's not done. If it's Florida, Florida should be the favorite against anybody they play. They've won the Cup. They've been to the Cup final 2 years in a row. They're a juggernaut team. But for starters, it's disrespectful.
At least let it
to
happen
Ottawa.
first.
Yeah, and Ottawa's not some joker of a team. This isn't the worst team in the league. They're a playoff team. They're a good team that's been battling and playing the Leafs hard. And there's this idea that it doesn't count if you beat the Senators. I mean, that to me is
that's not true, and that's
ridiculous.
a good call by you because you're having perspective and going. You got to beat the team in front of you. That's what it is, and that's what you're trying to do right now against the Ottawa Senators. Anybody, I had somebody say the other day, they're going right to the Cup. I'm saying, hold on a second here. Why don't you just worry about what's in front of you?
One day at a time.
And then guaranteed, there's going to be, 2 teams from Florida that are going to try and stop that process too. So just don't get ahead of yourself, and then. There's another team that'll be waiting in the 3rd round. So I said, just relax, get excited about what you have in front of you, and what you should be. You should be like that's.
They're playing really well.
Playing very well.
Playing well.
Playing
the big
great.
Boys are playing well. The new guys have really contributed significantly. And listen, year after year, we talked about the core 4, and are they going to get it done? Should they continue to bring them back? The viewpoint of the team has always been that they clearly thought at some point they could put pieces around them, that they would break through, bounces would go their way, and they're rolling the dice again.
Well, let me ask you this. Where do you put it? Because this series, that play last night behind the net by Mitch Marner was incredible. I've seen some cool plays behind the net. That's a cool one. But if they get it done against Ottawa and then they just get shut down, let's say, against Florida in the next round, what does that mean? They just got beat by a better team, or
we'll
get to that later.
Deal with that. Exactly.
I think you cross that bridge when you get to it. But because the flip side of that is, let's say you beat Florida, then you're only halfway home. That doesn't mean you don't get a parade because of that. I mean, we're 3 games into the playoffs here.
Yeah.
But Marner's looked good. Matthews has looked good. Willie's looked good. The power play's been good. Stolarz has been good. I mean, if you're a Leaf fan right now, I guess that's all I'm saying. It's like, why try to mess with a good time? You finally have one. You've been miserable for a long time. The Leafs are in a good place. Battle of Ontario. Stop putting the cart before the horse and take it one day at a time. And Game 4 tomorrow night. And for me, I'm curious where you guys stand on this, and we'll ask our next guest where he stands on this. Like the importance of avoiding a sweep for Ottawa, like getting a win. Is it worth anything? Is there a difference between a sweep and losing in 5 or 6 if it comes to that? Here's former NHLer, former Ottawa Senator, and co-host of the Coming In Hot podcast. There he is, Jason York. What's up, Yorkie?
Hazy, I'll answer that question to you. Have you ever had a broom tossed on the ice? Like, it's not a good feeling.
Personally. It's not a good feeling.
I don't know about Noodles and O-Dog, but I've been swept. And you don't want to get swept. You at least want to get one. Trust me. And the other guys I know will say the same thing.
Yeah, we got swept my first year in the playoffs. Like 1994, the New York Rangers beat the New York Islanders. I was with the Islanders. The Rangers swept us, and it was.
It's
we
miserable.
came in third.
Now listen, it's just telling
the
other
Sens
people,
played
Yorkie.
better.
Yes. Better than your Islanders? Is that what you're saying, Noodles?
The Sens have played way better than my Islanders, put it that way. We came in third in that series. You can ask Ray Ferraro.
Yeah.
But
that's why you got to get one, Jamie, because when you tell somebody when you retire, they're like, you're talking about old days. They're like, oh, how was that series? And you're like, well, we lost in 4. And then they think about it and they go, oh, so you got swept.
Yeah, we lost in 4.
Yeah, we actually did. We got pumped.
Yeah, you don't want that. You don't want that.
You don't want it, Hazy. You don't want it.
No, I hear you. I think that I probably knew that answer before I asked it. But we've been talking about the positives from a Maple Leaf standpoint. I think they're right in front of us. But is there a glass half full? Putting the 3-0 aside, like what is your viewpoint of how Ottawa's played, and can you formulate any argument that would suggest, hey, they actually should feel better about themselves than what the series total might suggest right now?
Well, 2 games have went to overtime. So, and we all watched those games. Both those games could have went either way. The game 1, they just took way too many penalties. And Toronto's got a crazy good power play. You got 4 world-class guys on the power play, and Nylander, Marner, Matthews, and I don't think enough people are talking about John Tavares. That guy's having a hell of a series. Like, anybody that thought he was done is crazy. I think he's been really good. But yeah, like, is there some glass half full things? Sure. Timmy Stützle, I think, is playing really well. He's not getting the points, but I'll say this. The goal of the Ottawa Senators this year, if I'm going to go half full, was to make the playoffs. And I know Noodles did a lot of games, and that's what everybody was trumpeting. So they made it. If they were playing the Washington Capitals or the Florida Panthers in the first round, I think people would have a lot easier time than this, especially the fan base. But because it's the Toronto Maple Leafs, it's a sore spot. And that's why you don't want to get swept. They got to win the next game to hopefully avoid that. But Stützle's played well. And if you look at their center ice position and you really break it down, Stützle's first playoff, Pinto's first playoff, Ridley Gregg, I know he's not a center, sometimes he is, his first playoff, Dylan Cousins' first playoff.
Yeah.
If you they got Adam Gaudette, who's really a winger playing center on your 4th line, doing a pretty good job. And then you compare that to Toronto with Matthews, Tavares, Domi, and I love what they did getting Lawton. Like, that's 4 guys with a ton of experience. So when you really dumb it down, Ottawa, should they be down 3-0? Probably not. But like, Toronto came in, like, they're just at a totally different spot of where they should be. Like, they're a team that's ready to win right now. Ottawa's a team that's trending upwards. So it is what it is.
Yorkie, take me through what you think the inexperience means come playoff time. I mean, is it young guys? You just mentioned how much of them they're quality players, their first playoff experiences. Like, why is it kind of a struggle? Do they have to get a taste of it because they're good players and it's a do-it-now league? But like, let's fast forward it to next year. What will they take away from this to say, oh, okay? Because in my view, it's like you just have to elevate and play better. You don't have to play more physical than you usually do. You just have to get to a different level and play better than you ever have. And I think it takes – I don't know why it takes time, but it does for guys to figure that out.
Hey, you just said it right there. Like, I look at that first game, a lot of guys seemed very tentative. Like, I thought Thomas Chabot, and Noodles did a ton of games down the stretch. I thought he was arguably their best player the last month of the season. First playoff for him, I'm like, he just looks tentative. And until you, like, we've all played in the playoffs, until you experience it, it's just a different kind of pressure. So they'll take a lot out of this. And just, it's little things like, in Ottawa, people are talking like crazy about the face-off. So, just the importance of winning draws, the importance of managing the puck, and you take Drake Batherson for example. I thought he was lights out in game 1. Game 2, just makes a bad decision with the puck at the wrong time, and then a couple flybys, one by Cousins, one by Batherson. So, just little details, and it's if you slip up for a minute in the playoffs, and these are lessons that Toronto's learned, right? Like, how many times has Toronto turned the puck over at the blue line in the past, made a bad decision with the puck, and it comes back to bite you? Eventually, you have to learn, don't you? and it looks
right.
like it looks under Craig Berube. I'll say this. I was saying this from the press box. You compare this version of the Toronto Maple Leafs to the Sheldon Keefe era. I think the first period of game one, the Leafs dumped the puck in more in the first 10 minutes and hit guys more than I saw in the entire tenure under Sheldon Keefe. But that's how you win in the playoffs. You put pressure on other teams' D, and you get deposits in the bank, and you hit guys over and over and over again. Hey, the Leafs have played simple. They've capitalized on their opportunities, and they're doing the little things better than Ottawa is, and that's the difference. And the goaltending.
I agree. I agree. The goaltender's been a save better or more in the games. I don't disagree. Are you surprised that it hasn't been, I don't know what the right word is. I think there's been hits, but it hasn't. We haven't seen a lot of scrums. We haven't seen, and I don't know if that's the Leafs' discipline or if it's Ottawa's tentative, hey, we don't want to take a scrum because we don't want to put them on the power play. But watch them. I've been watching games right throughout the league every night. And you're like, okay, there's this different type of physicality, and I don't know if this series has had it yet, or not yet, but it's 3 Cobb. So, but it hasn't raised to that level of like every shift. It's like a big hit, big play, big. It just hasn't had that. It's more just like been workmanlike, if that makes sense.
I'm seeing the same thing, Noodles. I'm not surprised, but I think to a man, especially that game one, Berube had a talk with Toronto and said, hey, this is a young team. They're going to come in. They're going to try and be physical. They're going to be all jacked up for game one. And how many times did Toronto get on the power play for, borderline plays, but still Toronto or Ottawa was trying to play physical and a couple of hits from behind, and Toronto was lights out in that playoff. So I think it's worked to Toronto's advantage. Like, just play between the whistles. And really, like, what's it been, 20 years since the last Battle of Ontario? None of these guys were part of it. Some of these guys weren't even born. So I think it takes a while to develop hate. Like those old school Toronto Ottawa playoffs. It took a while. Like, it took a while, and these guys, like, they hear about it, but until you experience it, it takes a while to start simmering. It really does.
With Jason York, I think that's exactly what it is. I think the fans have been referencing the Battle of Ontario, but the players on both sides, they don't know. Why would they? How would, outside of Max Domi, it's how else? And even Max what was he, 5 years old? Like, he can't really remember.
Exactly.
Like, he'll reference it, but he doesn't really know.
Yeah, he just wants McDonald's in the dressing room after or something like that.
He probably left after the first period.
Yeah.
Oh my God, there's that old hit from Alfredson. But this took a while, and when Domi went into the boards with Ricard Pearson, Travis Green getting involved, it's just and also too, I think the way Toronto's built, like, their power play, they don't want to get involved after the whistle. They want to make sure that they're initiating and not retaliating, and that's smart. And it served them well getting up in the series. So, and also too, like the days of, I remember Ottawa had that series against Montreal when you had the 5-on-5 brawl. You just don't see that. I think the most fireworks we've seen is Ridley Gregg putting a little muffin over at Stolarz before the game. Like, like, really? You're going to get fined for that? Like, come on. I don't know, dog. That's 2 old teammates just having some laughs, isn't it?
We had a discussion about it, Yorkie, and it's like, we can't even believe that we were talking about it. It was, I don't even know how that came to somebody's attention. Like, did Stolarz go to Chief and say, this guy ripped the puck at me, and then it got reported? How else would that even, like, how would that be taken to another level other than that camera catching it? I don't think some nerd was up there in the top row going, I got to report a shot taken. Like, I don't know how.
The golf line where they can call.
His club hit the sand, 2-shot penalty.
It grazed a couple pebbles there.
Crazy.
I don't know, but did you guys see the? I was scrolling through it today, and then all of a sudden I see the Marc-Andre Fleury going back to a playoff against Washington, and Ovi came across the line, and Fleury goes over and chops him, like, two-hands him. Like, nothing happened.
Nothing came of it. That was way worse than what we saw with Nick Cousins and Stolarz last night. But, Yeah, we'll see. And you're right about the discipline. Like I have a mental image from Game 1 when it was carried away. It was 6-2 end of the game, and David Perron was chasing Jake McCabe around. And those are veterans that have played each other probably 20 times, 30 times. And Perron was trying to engage him, and it would have been easy to scrum, punch, hit, fight even there. It wouldn't have mattered, and McCabe just wouldn't do it. Like he just wouldn't even think about it. You could tell Berube had told him, nothing, get out of here.
Yeah.
We got the win.
Yeah.
And it's been consistent, and it's worked well for the Leafs. So, but we'll see what comes of it tomorrow night. What are we expecting, Yorkie? You think Ottawa gets one tomorrow night?
You gotta think so. Like the law averages, don't they have to come into play? Ottawa's played some pretty good hockey. Like you'd think they deserve a little bit better of fate. So if I was going to bet this game, I would take the Sens, but I don't know the way Stolarz is playing right now. Like he is, what is it, 11 wins in a row?
11 wins in a row, yeah.
Yeah,
like
11 or 12, I thought, yeah. Yeah,
he's on some kind of run right now.
He really
he's playing
is.
Great. The only thing, I mean, my instinct is that it's going to be a close game and maybe Ottawa gets one, or it's going to be curtains and it's a big score.
6-0 Leafs.
Yeah, like
crazy,
something not if something happens early and they're down 2 or 3, that's what concerns me. Like, I think it'll be a tight, hard-fought game, but if there's anything that sways where, hey, this is a 2-goal lead for Toronto, that 2 could be 4.
Yeah, that's bad break early and a power play goal for the Leafs would be backbreaking.
You're right, like law of averages. But that being said, it's just last night, like Hayes, you called it. I think it was Ottawa scored first, right? Like that they hadn't done that in the series, right?
They got
and
the
then
lead. Yep,
that's it. So that is where I'll take my indicator from how the first period goes and who scores first and how you see that momentum, because it's right now we've all been. I don't know if you've ever been down, or Hayes, against the Rangers, I was down 3 Cobb. And going into that fourth game, you're going, like, we're gonna see how this unfolds. You play loose and driving, right? Like I think that the Sens can play loose and driving. Like go and play hockey, and the Leafs are trying to finish it off. So that's it can kind of go either way here.
All right.
Well, the biggest thing for me, fellas, is Ottawa's missing that like crazy in this series. Like it just, and to me, that's the sign of you're too tense. You're trying to be too perfect with your shot selection. And to Noodle's point, you're down 3-0. Now you're playing like, hey, there's nothing to lose now. Maybe relax and start to get some offense, because you're not going to win too many games if you only score 2 goals. So yeah, I think Ottawa gets it done. I was at the last game and it was fantastic, the atmosphere in there. So I'm hoping for the people here in Ottawa, they don't get swept, because it would be nice for this fan base. It's been a long time since they've been in the playoffs, and hey, we need more Battle League Ontario. We can't just have it go 4. We can't just have 4 games.
Let's continue this party. I'm with you on that. He is Jason York, former NHLer, Ottawa Senator, coming in hot podcast host, and we always appreciate you finding time, Yorkie. Thank you for doing this.
Cheers, fellas.
There he is, Jason York from Ottawa, and yeah, he was on that team back in 2001. When the Leafs swept the Ottawa Senators. All right, we got Game 4 tomorrow night on the station. We got the Habs in action, the Oilers in action tonight. The Jays are at Yankee Stadium. More on that. MJ still to come. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, Mike Johnson coming up in the next hour. Ryan Rishaug as well ahead of Game 3 tonight. Calvin Pickard will get the start for the Oilers. Get into that with Ryan, and you got the Habs in action tonight. I guess Patrick Laine is a game-time decision. I don't know exactly what's going on with him, but he may or may not play.
How about those little rascals out in Minnesota?
Man, they look good. They are moving, man. They're lapping the field out there against Vegas.
Well, that's the thing. It's like big and everyone. We always said, and it's true. Big, strong Vegas Golden Knights. They're going to be a serious problem. How do you counter that? Really fast cycles and speed and agility, and it's only a couple games for many, but I like what they're doing.
Yeah,
Vegas has had uncharacteristic turnovers. You just talked about the speed, and the goalie is not used to facing those grade A chances. Like that's the difference. Like Vegas is really buttoned up defensively, and now you've got some high end skill like that. Kaprizov has come back and not waited his way in. Like he's a rock star player, man. Like rock star player. Him and that Boldy are good players. Like, Minnie's. Listen, you're right. It's only 2 games, but they look pretty darn good in those 2 games.
They really do. And credit to St. Louis as well last night. Like they went home and they
were animals in the first period. I don't know if you saw that first period.
Yeah.
That was one of the most physical periods I've seen.
Jamie, that's the game that I talked about for Ottawa. It's like you got to hit back and knock them down. It can't be just like you got to give it to them to get them thinking. It's watch out, Winnipeg. And Ottawa couldn't get that done. Like if they had scored in overtime and won the game, you get Toronto thinking. But they kind of hit them with that Tkachuk goal, but they kind of stood pat and they stood up. They didn't go down.
Yeah.
Well, we got some interesting series, that is for sure, and we'll continue to look ahead to what will be a busy weekend in the Stanley Cup playoffs. The NFL draft continuing tonight. Jays at Yankee Stadium. There's a lot
some weird-ass stuff going on.
Some weird stuff going on, man. Like the coverage last night, Mel Kiper, it was wild. Hour 2. We'll get into Kiper. I got some Kiper takes. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.